Thank you very much indeed for agreeing to do this interview with the Sales Club, which is the biggest B2B community in Lithuania. Okay, so Nathan Littleton is the master of the great and unbelievable newsletters, and he actually wrote 2 books about it called Opened and Delivered, which actually are the great guides how for the successful email marketing, right? So first question for the warm-up. No, we get newsletters are all over the place. We get them a lot. We send them, we subscribe to them. So do people read them, really read them, and aren't newsletters dead?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I think you're right there. I think there is certainly a perception that that might be true, that email perhaps isn't as effective as it once was. But the question I'd ask you, and maybe your viewers as well, is what are the newsletters that you look out for? What are the emails that you look out for in your own email inbox that they're the ones you want to open? And that's what we want to be. We want to be on the right side of that argument where people do look forward to receiving our emails. And it's about the content that you include in there. What are you doing to make it compelling so that you are giving great content that speaks to the specific challenges and opportunities that your audience has? That's the way you make it work. That's the difference between sending spam email and sending emails that people genuinely look forward to reading.
Understood. Okay, great team. About the content, right? So what is the great content? Should they entertain my target audience, or should they stick to the point, to the business point? More about great content.
Well, we're all human. I think the great thing is that you can include content that is entertaining. Like in the UK, we have an organisation called the BBC. You might be familiar with it.
Yeah, sure.
Their ethos is educate, inform, entertain. So that is their brief, and that should be a similar thing for us. So it is business content. It's business content because you want to be helping your audience to do something different, improve their life or their business in some way, depending on what it is you do. But also, one of the best ways that you can do that is through stories. You have stories of where you work with your clients. You have stories of things that happen to you at a networking event or even in your personal life. Maybe you had a really good or a really bad experience at Disney World. Tell the story, see how it relates to what you do in your work, and see how someone can take that message and apply it to their own business or their circumstances.
Cool, I get it. So then, what is the most common mistakes you see people do?
Well, one of the biggest mistakes is that people don't give enough thought to the subject line that they use within their email campaigns. And I think it goes back to when we first used email. What do you think the subject should be? Well, it's the subject of the email, but of course it shouldn't be. Someone's going to make a decision on whether they want to read your entire email based on the 3 or 4 words that you put in your subject line. So we just want to make them interested, we want to intrigue them enough that they want to open the email, and then we can take care of the rest of the process later. So think about the subject lines, don't just write one after you've crafted your email, really give it some thought.
Awesome. Good one. The subject lines have to be really sharp and interesting, right? So maybe you can give us a few more tips how to improve rates, opening rates and click rates.
Yeah, sure. So one of the factors, as well as the subject line, that influences how many people open your email is whether they are the right people on the list in the first place. So if we think back to how you build your list, it might be using a lead magnet, maybe you're giving away a PDF ebook, something that has tips and advice, maybe it's a checklist. That's the way you're building that list. You're giving that in exchange for an email address. You have to make sure that that resource you're giving away qualifies your audience in some way. So it could be, for example, for me, I know you know I have the 20 best subject lines book. So when I first created that, the reason I think it works is that if someone knows about subject lines, if someone knows that they make a difference to their email open rates, they're already at a stage through their email marketing where I know they're a good customer for me. So it's about using the content of your ebook to qualify your audience so that you have a list that is filled with the right people. That's what we want ultimately.
That's very cool. Yeah, so it leads to a current situation. Today we have a sales summit, more than 2,000 people here, right? So if I go and get from everybody a business card, right? And can I add them to the database, just to fill my email list?
Well, there are 2 sides to this. So one side is GDPR, what's the legal thing that you can do? The other one is actually just what's the right thing to do? What's the ethical thing to do? And I think in the case of, say, a networking event, the right thing to do would be to follow up with them with an individual personal email, but also then sell the idea to them. Sell the idea to them of them staying in touch with you on a regular basis. So that would be, hey, it was great to meet you at that event today, loved what we talked about, etc., etc. just so you know, I send regular emails once a week giving you tips on how you can do X, Y, and Z, how you can be fitter, how you can eat healthier if you're a personal trainer, whatever your area of expertise is. So you're managing expectations there. What you're doing is saying, here's what I'm going to be giving tips and advice on, but also here's how regularly you're going to hear from me. If you'd like to sign up, just let me know. Exactly.
Sounds very transparent, like you don't lie anything about it. Understood. Okay, so you've touched GDPR. So GDPR actually made newsletters a crime. So maybe you can have a few tips, like major tips, how to make it legally, how to make the newsletters legally.
Well, the interesting thing, so we had GDPR in the UK too, and the interesting thing was that those people who were doing it right in the first place didn't have an awful lot to worry about. Because what does GDPR say? It says that you need to get permission from people to email them. You do what you've said you're going to do. It's all the things we've been talking about in this interview, essentially. So yes, you have to make sure that you're legal, but it's really about doing the right thing. So you basically, you tell people what you're going to do, and then you do what you've said you're going to do. It's quite simple.
Very cool, quite simple. Thank you very much. Then also now the frequency is important. Yes.
Yeah.
So actually, how often we have to send them? The newsletters.
There's an interesting balance about how often they'd want to hear from you, and I mention that because, like, I work with a number of dental practices. I would love it if they would send more often, but I can't honestly recommend to my dental practice clients you should be sending every day or every week. Because I'll ask you now, how often would you want to hear from your dentist? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, pretty rarely.
So for dental practice clients, they send once a month. And that is the right thing for that audience. So have a think about how often the audience would want to hear from you, but also have a think about, depending on the size of a business or organization that you're in, what can you actually commit to? What can you be consistent with? Because you don't want to make a promise that you're going to send a weekly email if when you get busy, you're not able to commit to a weekly email. You don't have the time to create the content. If you're in a bigger organization where you can share that workload, that's a little bit easier. But just make sure that it's the right fit for the audience and it's the right fit for you too, and how often you can commit to it.
Cool, understood. So the frequency we've covered. Now, is there a magic number of newsletters in order to convert the lead?
That's interesting. I wouldn't say there is. So, I mean, I can give examples of, I've had people on my list who have been on there for 6 years before it was the right time for them.
Okay.
And obviously I'd like it to not be 6 years for every client, and of course it isn't. But there are loads of reasons why people don't buy from us, and we have to make sure that we are staying in touch with them so that when it is the right time, we're the first person that they think of. Because they're going to go to their little black book of contacts, or they're going to ask for a recommendation on LinkedIn. We want to make sure that they're going to you because you've been staying in touch with them on a regular basis. And that's the point with it.
Understood. Cool, sounds cool. You yourself, do you subscribe, what brands do you subscribe in order to get to learn from them, and what brands do you suggest for our people to follow in order to learn from them?
I subscribe to lots, and I'd recommend looking at the ones that are within your industry, of course, but I particularly like AppSumo's emails. So AppSumo is a company that sells small business software. They're great because they do have a product to sell, but their style, their tone of voice is really, really smart. Innocent Smoothies, they're a company we have in the UK here too.
Yeah, I know, for sure.
Their emails are great because they're not really about the products. They're kind of like the email you might receive off a friend because he's slacking off work on a Friday. So they're things they found on the internet, they're things like that. And then every now and then there will be the odd little product push. There'll be the odd thing in there that is, hey, have you seen we've just launched this new product?
Sound innocent emails, yes? I mean,
absolutely.
For sure, I'll open it. Understood. Okay, so if I'm a subscriber and I get them a lot, the newsletters, so how to filter them, the ones who worth reading?
Okay, you can use yourself as the filter of, if you were to put your marketing hat on or your sales hat, if you were to be thinking, what is it that made me open this email, or why is it that I continue to look forward to this email, then that will definitely help. I think look for the people who are the best at what they do. Feel free to subscribe to my emails, of course. There are copywriters, there are all sorts of people, but focus on the ones that are good within your industry. I keep a swipe file, and my swipe file is the section of my email inbox. It's the folder that I have in the drawer that are all the marketing pieces that I've seen that I've thought, that's clever. That's clever. Maybe I could use that for something in the future. And the great thing about that is that when you come to create a piece of marketing or create a newsletter, all of a sudden it's so much easier because you've got a few other ideas that you can pick from to make the whole thing better.
Understood. Cool. Good idea about this folder in the Outlook. Yeah, and from your pitch, from your presentation keynote, I heard interesting story. So like every euro invested converts to 44 euros. I mean back.
Yeah.
Very interesting ratio. So can you just give us about the mathematics or logic behind?
It's from a report that I took. I tried to convert it into euros because it was a pound figure.
Yep, sorry.
So as long as that is correct, then yeah. So the point with that is the fact that it is such a cost-effective way, both in terms of the amount of money that you will spend. The actual amount of money you will spend will just be on an piece of email marketing software, or maybe what you put into actually running the designs of campaigns and things like that. So yeah, where the figure is taken from is a report that I'd be happy to share with you. But it's also about the time that it takes. So if you were doing it in-house, whether you're an independent business owner or whether you're part of a small marketing or sales team, the time it actually takes to create a newsletter and create everything that's needed to build a list for that to go to is so small that that's where the real investment comes from. You've got to make sure that it's not taking you a huge amount of time and it's not too difficult to do.
Cool. Sounds that emails are not dead, I mean, anymore. And you've touched about the software part. So how effective, the choice of the platform you're choosing, is like important to choose the platform, or most of them are like similar and does the job?
I think there are two categories at the moment. I think you have the email marketing applications that are, let's just say, simple email marketing applications. To a degree, I would include MailChimp in that, although it seems to be getting a bit more advanced nowadays. There are others like Campaign Monitor. I would consider them to be the ones where if you're just sending newsletters, or if you're doing a basic, what we'd call an autoresponder, so it's the emails that go in response to someone signing up on a website, for example. If you're doing those, then they will work great. And then you have a more advanced section, which would be Keep, which used to be called Infusionsoft. You have things like ActiveCampaign and MailerLite. There are a number of others as well. They're the ones where you can do much more advanced automations. So when you're looking to progress what you're doing with email marketing, it might be worth upgrading to something that will be able to help you do those things. But don't overcomplicate things in the first instance. If you're new to it, if you're looking to just get started, start simple, you can always upgrade later.
So, cool. All right, and we've covered a lot of themes. And so what are the major free takeaways from this interview?
If you're not using email marketing already, now is absolutely the right time. Even if you only have a list of 10 people or 20 people, it's a good place to start so that you can start to flex your own muscles. You can start to get used to being consistent with sending regular emails. So that would be the first thing, just start. Give more time to the subject lines that you create. Give the proper thought to whether they are interesting, whether they're intriguing. That's the second. And I think the third would be, look at the content within your emails that you're sending out to give value, and look at how many stories you're including, because the stories are what will really get your message across, much more than just the facts and the figures. There's a saying that says that facts and figures tell, but stories sell. And I really believe that. People will want to receive the emails that have stories that are genuinely interesting and entertaining, far more than the ones that have the facts and the figures.
Sounds great. So you guys have some homework to do, following up this keynote. So thank you very much. If people want to reach out to you, how they can find you?
Best place to find me would be on LinkedIn. You can definitely find me on there under my name, and on my website too. There is the 20 Best Subject Lines book if anyone wants to get that.
Thank you very much. Here we had Nathan Littleton. Thank you very much, really, for this interview, and I hope that you're coming back to Lithuania soon and see you once again.
Can't wait to.
All right. Thank you very much.
Good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.